Hello YouTube, this is Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review. Now, some of you might remember that I did a review of the Mikkeller Beer Geek Bacon a few weeks ago, so I want to go back to Denmark and do another one of the Gypsy breweries, and this brewery actually has connections with Mikkeller, but this is the Øl First Frontier. So for those of you who are interested in this, I'll just take you through the history of the brewery itself, but for those of you who are simply interested in the tasting, please feel free to fast forward just to a few minutes before the end of the video, and you'll catch that. And I have several I have several Øls and Mikkeller sitting in my crate, so if you're particularly interested in the Danish Gypsy brewing, please subscribe to the channel and there'll be more of these appear over the next couple of weeks and for the next while obviously. But for those of you interested, let me just take you through the history of this brewery. Now, the brewery goes back to 2005 when Tobias Emil Jensen and Tori Gainter were talking to their university teacher Mikael Bjorg Bjergso, who is the big boss at Mikkeller obviously, and they said that it was a shame that most of the Danish breweries had simply focused on how to make their beers over the last 100 years or so, rather than actually focusing on the taste and the content of the beers. But the three of them agreed that the only way to make quality beers was to do it themselves, and so they did that. Now, their university allowed them to brew in the school's kitchen overnight. However, this meant that they were restricted to brewing between the hours of 10 PM and 6 AM on weekdays, which they say resulted in some hard school days for them and their teacher. However, this was where Tobias and Tori's hunt for quality beer without compromise began, they say. Now, later Mikkel obviously founded the Mikkeller Brewery, which has obviously become very, very popular in the last few years with major international recognition. Now, Tobias and Tori continued to craft brew until 2010 when they founded Øl, which means, literally in Danish means two beers. They founded their own brewery and they made their first commercial brew. Now, when Mikael Bjergso heard that his old students were commercially brewing, he insisted that they made a collaboration beer together, and this became the first Øl beer, known as 2PA or IIPA rather. I'm not quite sure exactly what the pronunciation of the name of that is, but I'll need to get a bottle of that and review it for you at some stage. But since this point they have continued to brew beers that push the boundaries, and they insist on using the best possible raw ingredients and never compromising with the taste. So in that way they're kind of similar to Brewdog and Mikkeller. They're an experimental brewery basically. But despite their short existence so far, the brewery has received very high acclaim and attention in the craft beer world for their non-compromising brewing style, and they now export to over 30 different countries encompassing Europe, North America. I'm sure I saw that Chile was one of them in South America, and they also export to Japan and some other countries in the Far East as well as Australia. Now, as is the case with Mikkeller, they're a gypsy brewery, and so they don't own their own equipment, and they use the spare capacity at other breweries, but they believe that this ensures the best possible quality and the widest variety, and this leaves them with a lot of room for experimentation and collaboration with other brewers, which they obviously enjoy, because it means they can, it basically allows them to encompass many different flavours and things like that in their beer. But their company vision is basically that they want to produce the best beers in the world and will not compromise for anyone or anything, and there's already been great things come out of this brewery from what I've read so far, and there's obviously going to be some very good things to come from them. But I've never tried any Øl beer at all before, so I'm really excited to give this one a try. Now, they actually have a collaborative beer bar with Mikkeller, and this is called Mikkeller and Friends, and this is located in Nørrebro in Copenhagen. I'm sorry if my pronunciation of the Danish isn't quite correct. I hear it's a very kind of crazy language to actually get the pronunciation right. But the bar has an exclusive bottle shop and 40 different tap beers that are constantly rotating, and interestingly this particular bar also serves 3 Floyd's beer on draft due to a special collaboration, and this is one of the few places outside of the US where you can actually get this beer on tap. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the tasting of this beer. Now, Mikkeller and Øl are both known for having some rather random things on their label, but Øl, they've got like a sort of I'm not sure if it's a World War I soldier or a cowboy or something like that, but they're talking about First Frontier here, and you can see there's a lot of sort of Wild West kind of maybe farming sort of pictures on this particular bottle. One thing that's a little bit of a disappointment with this one, I have to say again, that it's the same with Mikkeller. They don't have their brewing symbol on the beer cap for this one. But one thing I understand is a tradition with Øl beers is that they have taglines on them, and this one says, "We all got pieces of crazy in us, some bigger pieces than others." So I'll make that a tradition with my next Øl review is that I will read out the taglines for this beer. Now, in terms of style, this beer is a 7.1% American style IPA, and it uses Warrior, Simcoe and Centennial hops, and these apparently give a very, very big citrus burst to that, so we'll see what it tastes like. But they use a hint of caramel malts, and with this being a gypsy brewery, they apparently this one is brewed at the De Proef Brewery in Locriste Hieltje in Belgium. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that again. But anyway, let's get on with the tasting of this guy and see what it's like. We are getting a bit of gas out of this one, I have to say. Okay, so let's get this guy poured and see what it's like. You can actually smell off this one. It does really smell like that kind of typical American style IPA. As you can see, it's a really, really nice kind of beautiful golden colour there, and it's yeah, it's a really beautiful colour. This, it looks like a very, very attractive beer, I have to say. If I shine this up to the light at the window, it's a very kind of orangey colour. It actually looks as if there's been just a little hint of sedimentation in this beer. It must have been stored for a little while, but it's a beautiful orange colour. There's a nice kind of fluffy head on it. There's not much visible in the way of bubbles, actually. Just little bits and bobs of a few streams of bubbles in it. This is probably going to leave some nice lacing in the glass as well. I'll just check on the camera that you're still seeing the bottle art okay, so no worries there. Okay, so let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. Now, in terms of the aroma, the first thing that's coming is the citrus and grapefruit, which is expected from the types of hops that they use in this. But I'm also picking up some kind of caramel element to it, and it's also got a bit of a piney, grassy element to it. It kind of reminds me actually a lot of the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale in terms of the aroma. It smells very similar to that actually. But that was a really nice beer, so this one hopefully will be a very nice beer as well. But yeah, the main things are the citrus and grapefruit notes, as well as that's obviously from the hops, and picking up some caramel, piney, grassy notes on it there. So you can see the head's starting to dissipate on this one, but let's give it a taste. Oh yeah, this one, you definitely get the hoppiness on this. This has got a good bit of hop blast in it, I have to say. But there's a nice amount of the caramel malts come up front, and you're getting the citrus and grapefruit flavours in there. But the main thing is you're getting the hop blast up front, and then the citrus and grapefruit flavours kind of kick in just a little bit later on. Then I would say the sort of grapefruit and the hoppy blast of it kind of lingers on the tongue, stays until the finish. The caramel's not actually too prominent, mainly the kind of hops are overpowering that a little bit. It's actually a very, very hoppy beer, but this is, I believe, what they were going for. It's actually really, really nice, I have to say, this one. But yeah, in terms of the mouth, it's kind of somewhere between medium and heavy and full-bodied, this one, I would say. I'm not quite sure what category to place it in, but it's a real kind of hoppy citrus blast in this one, I would say. If you like that particular style of beer, definitely give this one a try. But yeah, in terms of the carbonation is moderate, it's just right. It's got quite a well balanced flavour, but it does favour the hops slightly, I would say. Maybe it would need maybe a little bit more malt in it, might take away a little bit of the hoppiness. But you know, if that's the style of beer you like, then beer's subjective. Everyone enjoys different things. But I have to say, with this being my first beer from Tot, this certainly doesn't disappoint, and I will be trying more of these. Like I said earlier on in the video, I have some more Mikkelers and some more Tot in my crate that I'll review for you at a later date. But anyway, thanks again for watching my beer reviews. I hope it's been informative. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe, like and comment on the videos. Let me know your own experiences of the beer, of course. So please, as I say, like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another beer review. Cheers.